Good evening, everyone. I'm Ankit, and you're watching the Indian Express analysis of 26th of February. I wish you all a happy Shivratri. Good evening, Sejal. Good evening, Baga. Good evening, Ayush, Ashil, Niranjan, Achal, Gengu, Shushmita, Sojanya. Good evening. Happy Shivratri to you also, Sojanya. Let me skip this. Yeah, I can see you all here. Good to see you all on a holiday. Not a holiday for me, and I hope not a holiday for you as well. Good evening, Jayesh. Now, today we have in our discussion important articles from our today's newspaper. There are 6 important articles that we are going to discuss today. We will start with tea crop and also tea tribes because Prime Minister Modi in his visit to Assam highlighted the contribution that the tea tribes have made to growing of tea crops, and also tea crop is a major crop in India, therefore it is important from GS paper 3 perspective, right? So we'll be covering in detail about the tea crop. Then we'll move on to Tea Horse Road. Tea Horse Road actually appeared in the explained section of the Indian Express newspaper, and this highlighted an ancient trade route between India, Myanmar as well as China. So we'll be covering in detail about, give me a minute, let me set this one up. I've sent you the notification on Telegram channel, right? I hope I have done that. Now this article, as I was going to tell you, Tea Horse Road, it deals with the history part, that in the ancient Tea Horse Road, particularly how it existed and it favored trade in many commodities between India, China and Myanmar, right? So we'll be covering this article in detail. Then we'll be understanding about internet shutdown, because as per a report passed by an NGO, it highlighted that India this time was not the largest country, or not the country which witnessed the largest amount of internet shutdown. Rather, it was Myanmar. So we'll understand the reasons why Indian government can actually shut down your internet. How are the limitations have been imposed on the Indian government, particularly with the Supreme Court judgment that highlighted although internet shutdown are lawful, but they have to be quite limited. They have to be quite restrictive, right? So we'll understand all the details in how or in what cases can actually Indian government impose internet shutdown. This is also important from the Article 19 perspective. And why? Because as we understood in our yesterday's discussion also, Article 19 provides you with right to free speech. However, government is well within its power to impose reasonable restrictions on the exercise of Article 19, that is freedom of speech and expression. So we'll understand in detail about how can government restrict internet, or how will it qualify against the criteria of reasonable restriction, right? Now this is important from GS paper 2 perspective, as it deals with fundamental rights, which is a part of which syllabus? Of the polity syllabus. Then we'll be understanding about the foreign portfolio investments and their outflow from India, and this outflow has resulted into the downfall of Indian stock market. So we'll understand what are the factors actually that are leading to the outflow of the foreign portfolio investors, in addition to understanding what is the actual definition of foreign portfolio investors, right? Because if you can recall, there was this question in 2020 on the characteristics of FDI, that is foreign direct investment, and very similar is foreign portfolio investment. So we'll first of all understand the difference between foreign direct investment and foreign portfolio investment, and also we'll understand what are the major characteristics of foreign portfolio investment, right? Then we'll be moving on to a species that was spotted in Arunachal Pradesh, northern pill-tailed ducks, and you'll be happy to know that I've not taken this news from Indian Express. Rather, there was this newspaper on a local website of Arunachal Pradesh, this news article. That's why, for the simplification or for our discussions perspective, I've taken this article in our today's newspaper. Now, this highlights an important species in news, and in this year's prelims also, you'll see a question appeared on flying fox bat. So similarly, such kind of species that have been in news can be asked in this year's prelims. Also, we'll be discussing in detail about the challenges that is faced by India's textile industry. Although it is one of the major industry that contributes to our economic growth, to our employment, to our exports, however, this industry is facing certain kind of challenges. So we'll understand what kind of challenges are these industries facing, and then we'll also try to solve a question that I've put today, right? Now, as usual, you understand, you can use the Telegram group to get the notes which are available daily immediately after the session ends, and also on this Telegram channel you can post your answers before 8 p.m. every day if you want me to correct it. And also, if for some reason you have delayed your answer writing and you have submitted it late, I'll urge each and every aspirant to help your fellow aspirants, right? So this is a cooperative exercise. If you help that particular aspirant in future, that particular aspirant will help you, right? And also, I'm forgetting these days, if you like this video, please do not forget to give us a thumbs up, as it helps us keep motivated. And also let us know in the comments after this video ends if you found this video helpful or not, right? Now, this is the question that I will be taking up today. Despite being a global leader in fiber production, India's textile industry struggles with low export competitiveness and sluggish growth. Discuss the key challenges faced by Indian textile industry. Now, you have to ensure that the answers that you have written are under 150 words, because such kind of questions are usually of 10 markers, right? So therefore, please make sure to adhere to the word limit when you're writing such answers. Now with this, let us move to the first article of the day. This article actually appeared on the 7th page of the Indian Express, and this highlighted that the Prime Minister of India, Mr. Narendra Modi, he visited Assam, and he highlighted or took note of the important contribution made by the tea tribes in Assam in the tea industry particularly, right? So the context of this article is that Assam's oldest industry, that is the tea industry, and its workers who have made flourish actually involves over 8,600 men and women in these states. Now these people, they are known as tea tribes, and they perform their traditional Jhumar, which is also spelt as Jhumar, right? And Jhumair. Now these dance, it highlights the culture of Assam, and it was done in the presence of Prime Minister. That is why such kind of a dance event is in news. So let us discuss first of all about this dance. Now this Jhumar, whatever it is called, I'm sorry if I'm getting the pronunciation incorrect. If any one of you is from Assam, please let me know the correct pronunciation. Niranjan, what is interim relief? Is that given bail or cancelling the bail? Interim relief, what is relief for a convict if he gets bail, right? So interim relief is any kind of a relief. If your bail is given, that is called as interim relief, not cancelling of bail. Tapas, happy Shivratri to you, Tapas. Lydia, sir, is it mandatory to read the newspaper daily or the videos are sufficient? Well, you can do either one of them, not both. You can either read the newspapers or you can follow the session. Well, I'm covering, in my knowledge, I'm covering everything that is important in the newspaper. Even if I leave out any important article today, I make it a point to cover that tomorrow so that nothing important is left out. Understood, Lydia? Deepak, you're from Rajasthan. Hello, Deepak. Phantom Boy Edits. Good evening, Phantom Boy Edits. I'm good, Phantom Boy. How are you? I'd like to know your name. Okay. Now this Jhumar, it is performed by women while men play the traditional musical instruments. It is a popular traditional dance form of Assam, which has a central place in the festivals which are celebrated by these tea tribes. And this tea tribes, it comprises of 17% of Assamese population. Now these tea tribes are actually the people who work in tea gardens, and also these are multicultural and multi-ethnic communities who are descendants of the Assam tea garden workers. Now these originally, they are present day located, or they are originated from present day Jharkhand, Odisha, Chhattisgarh and West Bengal, and they have been settled in Assam for 19th century onwards. So more than 200 years have been passed since these people have been settled in Assam, and now they are an integral part of Assam's culture, heritage and society, right? Now these actually were set up during the time Britishers were setting up of tea gardens across India, and Assam, having the ideal climatic conditions for tea industry, became one of the hotspots of tea cultivation in India, right? So that is why these people who are originated from other states, they eventually got set up and settled in Assam, and that is why these are known as tea tribes. You have to understand, this is not one community, rather it is a multicultural and multi-ethnic community, right? Which comprises of people belonging to different cultures, different ethnicities. Also, what you have to realize is that this tea tribe community, it comprises, as I already told you, 17% of Assam's population, and they have been a deciding factor in almost 40 Assam's assembly seat out of total 126. Therefore, also in terms of political importance, their vote bank is so important that the political parties, they make sure to take care of their economic and social interest, right? So every important leader, when they visit Assam, they make it a point to interact, to highlight the significance of this community, and also take care of any kind of an interest that they might have had, right? Also, this community is spread over 800 tea gardens plus several unorganized small gardens of Assam, and they live mostly in residential quarters which are very adjacent to the tea gardens. Understood? So this is the importance of tea tribes in Assam and their culture, that is the Jhumar dance. Now let us understand about tea. Why am I telling you about tea? Because tea is a very important crop of India, and also India is one of the largest exporters of tea in the global market. Now tea is one of the oldest and most widely consumed beverage. You can understand tea widely is consumed in India in hot form, that is in form of chai, both in northern and southern parts of the country. But India has a tropical climate, right? So even if the outside temperatures are 40 and 45 degrees centigrade, you'll hear most people saying, "Bhai, aaj to chai chahiye." Even in that heat, even I do that same sometimes, right? Now that is why it is one of the most popular beverage in the market. Tea plantations, they use shade trees to protect plants from the excessive sunlight, and the teas, these are made from leaves from Camellia sinensis plant, right? So this is the biological name of the tea plant. Now let us understand what are the climatic conditions required for tea industry or tea crop. Now tea, it grows particularly in the temperatures between 20 to 30 degrees centigrade, which is ideal for its growth, and that is why the hilly areas in West Bengal, that is in and around Darjeeling, also in the Assam, Himachal Pradesh, etc., and even in the southern parts of the country, particularly in the Nilgiri forest of Tamil Nadu, you'd see there are plenty of tea plantation, because these areas provide them the ideal temperature, right? And also in terms of rainfall, you require somewhat high amount of rainfalls, that is from 150 to 300 centimeters annually, which is well distributed, not during the process of just few months, rather well distributed across the whole year. Also, stagnation of water is very harmful for the tea crop. That is why you'll see tea plantations, they are always on the slopes of the hills, not on the plain lands, right? Also in terms of altitude, they grow well in hilly regions from 600 to 2000 meters above sea level. And you can, as I told you, right, hilly regions, they have slopes, and that is where the tea crops are planted. And in these are planted, and these are very sensitive to frost. That is why if the temperatures, they fall below 20 degrees centigrade, it can be quite harmful for tea plants. चाय पीने के बाद ही आपकी क्लास देखता हूं. वेल, मैं भी चाय पीकर ही क्लास में आता हूं. Now, for those who you don't understand Hindi, I every day make it a point that before taking the class, I have tea. Now, about soil requirements, right? Now, the soil requirements for tea is that it requires well-drained loamy soil with good aeration. I told you, right? Well drainage of the soil is very must, because stagnated water, it is harmful for tea crop. And also the soil, it must be rich in organic matter and also in iron content, right? Now, in terms of tea production, top countries in the world, it is China. That is, China produces largest amount of tea, followed by India, Kenya, and Sri Lanka. Whereas in terms of exports, it is Sri Lanka who has traditionally been the highest exporter of tea. Now, in terms of tea producing states in India, top tea producing states, Assam is at the number 1, followed by West Bengal, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, and Karnataka. So, eastern part of the country, southern part of the country, they dominate the tea production in India. Now, also other states or other tea growing states, these are Andhra Pradesh, Tripura, Arunachal, Himachal, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Sikkim, Manipur, Nagaland. So, barring Andhra and Himachal here, all of these states are northeastern states, right? Or just Himachal in the north and Andhra in the south are the other important states. Also, Kerala, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu. So, all this southern states, barring Telangana, these are important tea producers in India, and also all the northeastern part of the country, right? Now, this is an PYQ which occurred in 2022. This directly asked you the question, consider the following states. These are the 4 states. How many of the above are generally known as tea producing states? So, I'll leave it for you to solve this question. Please let me know the correct answer in the comment section after this video end, right? Now let us move to the next article of the day. Let me see the comments if there are new comments. Okay, Deepak. Now let us move to the new article. Sorry, this article actually appeared in the explain section, as you can see from the screenshot, and it tells us about the historic Tea Horse Road. Now this is important from GS paper 1, that is history, right? Now let us understand the context of this article, right? Now recently Chinese ambassador to India, Mr. Zhu Fenghong, he had posted on the Twitter platform. He posted while remaining in India because Twitter is not legal in China. So had he been located in China, he would have not had posted such articles on his Twitter, right? Because he would have been unable to. Now he talked about Tea Horse Road. Now as you can see from this screenshot, Tea Horse Road is actually a trade route which existed between Kolkata, moving from Tibet, that is Lhasa, Kamdo, and into the Myanmarese territory of Lijiang, right? So it spreads across 3 countries, that is India, China, that is Tibet, and in Myanmar. So this is the Tea Horse Road that we are going to be talking about. Now, Tea Horse Road, it is a significant ancient trade route that connected China, Tibet with the Indian subcontinent, and it spans over 2000 kilometers, facilitating the exchange of tea, horses, as well as other goods. That is why it is known as Tea Horse Road, because these are the 2 important commodities that was traded alongside this route. Now, this is not just one single pathway, but rather a network of multiple trade routes, which comes to be known as Tea Horse Road. Similarly, you may have heard about Chinese Belt and Road Initiative. Belt and Road, it spread across many countries that linked ancient China with other important civilizations in the West, right? Similarly, one of this is an Tea Horse Road. Now, there are many main routes that were taken under this, that is from southwestern China to Tibet via Yunnan and Sichuan provinces, and also from Tibet to Indian subcontinent that branches into present-day India, Nepal, and Bangladesh. Now, the journey in this Tea Horse Road was very dangerous because, first of all, as you can understand, Tibet is an inhospitable terrain. That is why the terrain itself became very difficult, which included mountains ranging to as much as 10,000 feet. Now, do not get confused with meters. Mount Everest is 8,848 meters above sea level. I'm talking about feet here. So that is why 10,000 feet. Now, the weather also in this area is very unpredictable and has harsh conditions. So that is why the journey became quite treacherous. That is why the traders who were moving around this side road, they used to charge a premium rates over the trade of these commodities. So that is why earlier tea crop, it originated in China, but after Britishers came into India, they had a habit of having chai or tea. So they inculcated this habit among Indian people that they used to pay to Indian people in order to consume tea. Now see the result. Indians were getting paid in order to drink tea. Now they spend money to drink tea even in the harsh climatic conditions that exist in India, particularly in summer months, right? So this is the problem that India has faced even from a very long time. Now, the origin of this tea horse trade route actually originated during the Tang dynasty, which existed in China from 618 to 907 Common Era. Now, this tea road, it emerged during the Tang dynasty when China began trading with Tibet and India. Earlier, you have to understand, Tibet was not a part of China. Rather, China illegally annexed Tibet after the 1950s, right? Now, Buddhist monk Yijing, who existed between 635 to 713 Common Era, he recorded that Chinese trades, they transported sugar, textiles, and rice noodles to Tibet and India, and they traded also in horses, leather, gold, saffron, medicinal herbs from Tibet to China. So this was moving from China to Tibet and India, and these commodities, they were moving from Tibet to China, right? So this is the exchange of goods that were happening back then. Hello, Amar. Now let us move to the another article of the day. This article actually appeared on the website of the Indian Express, and it told us about the India saw as many as 84 instances of internet shutdown in 2024, more than any other democracy. Well, as in terms of global countries, India stands second after Myanmar. Now, Myanmar is not a democracy. That is why India stands, or India is in a first position in terms of internet shutdown among democratic countries. Now, this context is, as I told you, India is surpassed only by Myanmar, which saw 85 of internet shutdowns, and this was imposed by a military rule in country. That is why Myanmar does not become a democratic country. Therefore, in terms of democratic country, India has the highest amount of internet shutdown. Now, this is the first time in 6 years that India has not been named as the country which saw the most amount of internet shutdown. Now, there has been a modest decrease in number of internet shutdowns in India. This was about 116 in the year 2023. Now it has reduced to 84 in 2024. So there might be some reasons, right, that the amount of internet shutdowns in India have reduced. So let us understand what is the main reason behind it. Now the main reason behind it is the Supreme Court of India, because it passed a judgment in the case called as Anuradha Bhasin versus Union of India case 2020. And in this case, the Supreme Court highlighted that although access to internet, it is a fundamental right under the Indian Constitution, particularly under Article 19 of the Indian Constitution, because it provides you with the opportunity to exercise your right to freedom of speech and expression. Now, any restriction on the internet, although it is legal, however, the government has to take sure, or it has to make sure that these restrictions on the internet must be temporary. First of all, they can't be permanent. They have to be limited in scope, that only few websites or apps can be restricted. They have to be, first of all, lawful, that government should restrict the internet based on a particular law, and also it should be only when it is absolutely necessary for the government to cut the internet, because it does not have any other option, then only it should shut down the internet. Also, it should be proportionate, that you can't shut off an internet just because two people have fought. Only because of such communal or social tensions have arisen, then only you should shut down the internet, right? So these are the conditions that the Supreme Court has imposed on the government, that it has to make sure that the internet shutdown are temporary, limited in scope, lawful, necessary, and as well as proportionate in nature. Now, the court has also reiterated, or it has highlighted, that the government order to restrict the internet connection, it is subjected to the review by the courts. That is, judicial review is applicable in these cases, right? So it is not an absolute power of the government. It is a limited power, limited by the reasonable restrictions of the Constitution. And also, when these orders are passed, courts can also review these kind of orders, right? So this is the reasonable restrictions that are imposed also on the government, that it cannot just shut down the internet. Now let us understand what are the challenges in case of shutdown of the internet. Now, first of all, I told you, right, the Supreme Court said that government should publish the order, first of all, in instances of internet shutdown. Why government should publish this order? Because only when the orders are published, the government would have to mention the grounds based on which it has cut down the internet, right? And that can be reviewed by courts. But when the orders itself, these are not published by the government, how can actually court review such orders? So this is one of the instances that the exercise of internet shutdown, from the government's point of view, it is not taking care of the Supreme Court judgment. Also, there is no statutory recognition that has been provided by the government in order to amend the law so as to include the provisions of the Supreme Court order. So this is also one of the challenges. Now, what has happened, that although Supreme Court has issued an order on internet shutdown or how they should happen, but there are lack of awareness in terms of police, as it was found out that many local polices, they are not aware of the Supreme Court order. So they rather pass down the internet shutdown order without adhering to the guidelines which was set up by the Supreme Court of India. Also, you have to understand that internet shutdown not just takes down the opportunity to communicate, but it also affects the economy of the region, because you understand, even for payments, you depend on internet. To order anything from online using e-commerce sites, again you depend on internet. Many people use internet to access jobs through Ola, Uber, Zomato, Swiggy, whatnot. Also, delivery boys on the quick commerce platforms, they use Google and Google Maps to navigate through the lanes in order to deliver you the goods in time. So this is how shutting down the internet can affect the economy of the region. And as I told you, right, many people depend on livelihood. For example, restaurants, for example, taxi drivers, for example, delivery boys, for example, any person who is working on the e-commerce website, their source of livelihood is entirely dependent on internet. So once you shut down the internet, how will they be able to make their livelihood? How will they be able to earn money, right? So this is one of the problems that the government is ignoring when they are shutting down the internet. Also, you have to understand internet is a very good tool when you have to verify any information. What do when you are confused about anything? You take out your phone and you Google that thing, right? So this option of googling anything provides you with the option to verify any kind of information, which is very necessary in these times, because we have seen there are instances, particularly on social media, when many mischievous elements of the society, they blatantly use misinformation just to spread their political and social agenda, right? And this can be countered only by one fact: then when people are aware of these kind of instances and when they use internet to verify the rumors, verify the information, then only the society can become a better society. And how you can verify these rumors? Again, by using the internet. So these are the instances how internet shutdown can actually affect you. Also, India has now very high mobile penetration, because you depend on mobile for many things, even sourcing livelihood, to communicate to the loved ones. And once the internet is stopped in the region, you cease to exist as a social being in a temporary basis, right? So these are the challenges that India witnesses because of internet shutdown. And therefore, although we understand that internet shutdown sometimes can be necessary in order to control riots, in order to prevent the spread of disinformation, but also on the other hand, internet is important for economic reasons, for seeking livelihood opportunities, and also for verifying rumors. So that is why a balance is required in shutting down the internet and making that shutdown very temporary, right? So this balance is very critical in India. Understood? Sheetal, I am working, so I couldn't attend your class live, but I make sure to watch every day the recorded session. Sir, your easy language and method of teaching. Thank you, Sheetal. Very nice of you to compliment me. Seen Ankit sir class. Okay, Deepak. Now, let us solve this practice question. Now, there was this another PYQ on right to privacy, right? So, this article actually highlighted, or this question in the UPSC prelims asked you which particular fundamental right did right to privacy belong, right? On that logic only, I have curated this question. Right to internet is protected as an intrinsic part of right to freedom of speech and expression. Which of the following in the Constitution of India correctly and appropriately implies the above statement? So please let me know the correct answer in the comment section. Sarang, you have said option C. Anyone else? Article 19, Shrishmita, yes. And also anyone? Ayush says C. Anyone else? So all of you are right. Option C therefore is the right answer to this question, as it is guaranteed under Article 19 and a part of Part 3, which is the part highlighting fundamental rights in the Constitution. Now Baga Spinks, I didn't see Baga Spinks. Yes, Ashil, you are right. Baga Spinks is usually very regular in the class. So whenever I don't see him, I think that God forbid if something is not wrong. Now, let us move to the next article. This article appeared in the Indian Express today, and it stated that the Sensex, it has fallen below the mark of 75,000 points, just because that the foreign portfolio investments, they have continued to take out their investments from India, right? So, in this regard, let us understand the context of this article. Article C indeed slight headache. Okay, Baga Spinks, no need to worry. Thank you for commenting. Now, let us understand the context of this article. Now, in the recent times, in few months here, you have witnessed, give me a minute. Yes. Now, in the recent months, you must have seen that the Indian stock exchanges, they have fallen by some margin, right? And the primary reason of the fall in Indian stock market has been attributed to the withdrawal of foreign portfolio investments from India. Now, these are many reasons, that particularly there's a weak US market trend, incessant foreign funds outflow, and concerns over US tariffs. These are the factors that are acting to reduce or fall down the Indian stock markets, and primary reason is the incessant foreign fund outflows. Now, in recent times, or yesterday, foreign institutional investors, they offloaded equities in the Indian market worth almost 3,500 crore. And when you consider all the withdrawal in this particular calendar year, foreign portfolio investors have pulled out about 23,710 crores this month, pushing down the total outflows from Indian market of over 1 lakh crore in 2025 itself. So this is the primary reason why these foreign portfolio investors, these are moving their money out of India. And because this instances of moving their investment out, Indian stock markets have fallen down, right? So in this regard, let us understand actually what are these foreign portfolio investments, also known as foreign institutional investments, right? So let us understand what is this all about. Now, this equity investment, any equity investment in a country, that is buying up of shares or ownership in the country, if it is less than 10%, this is known as the foreign portfolio investment. Now, if the investment in any company is over than 10% or is more than 10%, that becomes an FDI. So you have to make sure, or you have to remember the limit, that is 10%. Below 10% is FPI, more than 10% is FDI. Now, these investments, these are very volatile investments, that one day that investment might be made in Indian market, and even if the condition changes, the very next day they will pull out their investments. On the other hand, foreign direct investments are much more permanent in nature. So that is why in that regard, foreign portfolio investment, it is also called as hot money, right? Because this is very volatile in nature. Now, it represents short-term inflows in Indian market, such as investment in shares, government bonds, companies or private company debentures. Now, the categories of investments that qualify as foreign portfolio investments, these are investment in shares, corporate bonds, debentures, commercial papers, mutual fund units, also in the units issued by REITs and InvITs, which we have already covered in our sessions, treasury bills, dated securities, state development loans, and Indian deposit receipts. Now, all of these securities, whenever the investment is less than 10%, these investment are categorized as foreign portfolio investment. Any doubt in foreign portfolio investment? Amar ha sir ka chela hai. Vishwabrat, happy Shivratri. Now, there are individual limits on how much these foreign portfolio investors can invest in India. Now, in single company, as I told you, the limit is less than 10%, right? So if they invest more than 10% in a company, that automatically becomes an FDI. So the investment as far as FPI has to be less than 10%. Now, what should be the aggregate FPI limit for a single Indian company? Now, a single Indian company, they can take up to a sectoral cap, as we have understood that there are differences in the various sectors. Some sectors allow for higher foreign investment, some sectors allow for lesser foreign investments. So if, for example, a sector allows for 50% of foreign investment, so sum total of FPI investment, that is from different companies in that particular company, it should be not more than the 50%. Whereas for just one foreign portfolio investor, it has to be less than 10%, right? So suppose there are 5 FIIs in a particular company, so they can invest 10% each, right? Right. So if the sectoral cap is 50%, understood this example? Now, the new framework that the government has brought recently, it has allowed FPI to invest in companies beyond the 10% limit. But in that case, if the limit or investment becomes greater than 10%, then that additional over 10% will become an FDI. So suppose if an FPI, it acquires 22% stake in Indian company, therefore the excess investment over 10%, that is 12% here, will be categorized as FDI, right? Now, let us understand the differences between FDI and FPI quite quickly, right? Now, if you can see from this table, in terms of ownership, 10% of investment or more becomes FDI, and therefore naturally less than 10% investment becomes FPI. Now, in terms of FDI, the investment includes not just transfer of capital, but also transfer of technology and management skill. That is an company who's making FDI investment in any company, they will provide them with the managerial expertise, they will provide them with the technology which can be used by the investment company in order to upscale their production levels. However, in cases of FDI, only the transfer of capital, that is transfer of money, takes place, right? Now, in terms of FDI, it leads to changes in ownership and management because they are investing significant portion in the company. Therefore, they will demand ownership and also presence in the management, whereas only the ownership changes as per the FPI. Now, in terms of flow, it leads to flow of physical assets, that is in the money using the FDI, the company invests in buying machinery, buying tools, etc. That are examples of capital investment, whereas only transfer of financial assets happens in FPI. Now, these FDI, they are primarily targeted in the primary market, that is market where the issuance of share is taking place from the company to customers, whereas this is mainly taking part in the secondary market where trade in stocks happens between the customers or the investors of the company, right? So this is the difference between primary and secondary market. Now the nature of the investment, it is stable and long term in cases of FPI, whereas I told you, right, FPI is called as hot money, therefore the nature of investment is very unstable and short term. Now the flexibility that the investment in FDI is provided, it is less flexible because entry and exit is difficult. You just can't remove your investment and remove your ownership and management investment in the company, whereas the taking out of investment is much more simpler in FPI, therefore it is a volatile form of investment. Also, the role of investors in the day-to-day functioning of the company is very active for FDI, whereas it is quite less active or rather passive in cases of FPI. Understood the difference? Now, this is the question that I have curated, very similar to the question that appeared in 2020 prelims, which was on characteristics of FDI, right? So, I have changed that question in order to make it with reference to FPI. Which of the following is not considered as a major characteristic of the FPI, right? Now, this is the question. Let me know in the comments whether you are able to solve it or not. Now, right, we also take paid batches, that is batches for foundation courses, and what we do in foundation courses is that we provide you with the complete pedagogy of important subjects. For example, I take economy classes, right? So here or in that paid batches, I explain in detail about various concepts of economy, which also includes differences between FPI and FDI. Now, in our today's lecture, the table that I provided you, right, it has been provided from my own slide that I use in the paid batches, right? So this is the level of information and the pedagogy that we teach to our students in the paid batches. Now, suppose if you are having problem in many such concepts, be it economy, polity, society, anything, right? So in that case, you always have an option to enroll with our paid batches, which are available on our StudyIQ website. Now also we provide you with the English exclusive batches for students who are not that comfortable with Hindi, right? And we understand this problem, and it is something very common in the students, right? So for that, you can always click on UPSC IAS here, click on the Sampoorn batch, that is a prelims to interview complete foundation classes here. Right now, the admissions for batch 2 is going on because batch 1 has been filled completely. Now, if you click on this, you can see it is available right now at 34,999. Now, these rates are available only up till the end of this month, that is on 28th of February. And let me tell you a way where you can get this course for even less amount than 24,999, right? Click on buy now here, click on offer promo code, enter the coupon code here, ATS live, right? Click on ATS live and see from 34,999 the code or the value of the course has reduced to 27,999, right? So that is how you apply the code ATS live, which is also must be flashing on the bottom half of your screen to get maximum discounts on the courses, right? So this is how you enroll yourself in the StudyIQ website to be able to solve such questions. Now, Ashil, Sarang, I see you have said the option C is right. It is an investment which involves changes in ownership and management. Yes, this is an example of FDI and not FPI. Therefore, third statement from the questions perspective, which asked you which is following not considered as the characteristic of FPI. Therefore, C becomes right because it is incorrect. Yes, Ashil and Sarang, you're correct. Now, this is the course that I was telling you. It is available at 27,999, but you can get it only when you use the code ATS Live. Understood? Now, let us move to another article. This article actually appeared in a very website of a local website from Northeast, that is Northeast Now News. Now, I've taken the screenshot because I felt this species was important from a prelims perspective. I did not want it to restrict myself by not taking this article. So, you understand my epitome, right, in this particular problem. Now, this is actually important because it highlights species in news. So, let us understand the context of this article. Now, a flock of northern pintail ducks, they were spotted in an unprecedented altitude of 13,500 feet in Tawang, which is located in Arunachal Pradesh, right? So let us understand about this species. Now, it is a large, graceful and a migratory duck that is named for its long tail feathers it is a wetland bird that can be found in every continent except Antarctica, right? So these are available everywhere except Antarctica. Now it is a long distance migratory species which travels thousands of kilometers every year south to escape the freezing winters, which you can understand happens in the Tawang region of Arunachal Pradesh. Now let us know about some details about the pintail duck also. Sheetal sir, is this enough or should I follow Hindu too? See, from my experience, I've seen every article that appears in Hindu, it is also covered in Indian Express, and similarly likewise that every article from Indian Express is covered in Hindu newspaper. So just follow one newspaper. Suppose if you're following Indian Express, it is fine. If you're following Hindu, that is also fine. Just follow one newspaper. Now moving again to northern pintail duck, Baga Sphinx. Thanks sir, we appreciate this complete coverage. Thank you. Baga Sphinx pakka chela hai. Like, sorry, yeah, let me move back to the discussion. Now about northern pintail duck. Now the breeding regions of this northern pintail duck, these are found in northern parts of Europe, Asia, Russia, Central Asia, Mongolia, China, Japan, Alaska, Canada, and North America. So all of these are actually countries which witness very harsh climate. So during the winter months, these species move southernwards in search for warmer climates, right? So winter migration destinations for these birds, they migrate to warmer regions, including Northern Africa, Indian subcontinent, and also Southeast Asia. And their preferred habitats are freshwater wetlands, lake, marshes, and coastal lagoons, because it is primarily a wetland bird which lives very near to the aquatic regions. And the IUCN status or the protection status of this particular species is least concern. Please remember this IUCN status. Understood? Sheetal, okay sir, thank you from Gujarat, lot of bragging. Thank you Sheetal. Amar sir, I am from Arunachal. Okay, so this article is very relevant for you even if you are appearing for the local PCS. Now consider the following statements regarding the northern pintail duck. It is a long migratory bird that breeds in northern hemisphere and migrates to warmer regions like Indian subcontinent in winter. This is correct. Due to habitat loss and hunting, the northern pintail, it is classified as the endangered on the IUCN red list. This becomes incorrect because I told you it is categorized as least concern species, right? So second statement is incorrect, first is right, and we have to identify correct statement here. Therefore option A naturally becomes right. Yes Ayush, yes Sarang, you are both correct. Now let us move to the last article of the day. This article actually appeared on page 13 of the Indian Express, and it tells us about the ailing situation or ailing conditions of the Indian textile industry, and also tells us about the government's efforts to improve it, right? Now let us understand first of all the context of this article. Give me a second, I'll have water. Now the context of this article is actually that India's textile industry, it is one of the world's largest textile industry. It has a vast value chain right from the cotton cultivation to high-end apparel manufacturing like jeans of high-end brands. All of these are manufactured in India, and not just manufacturing of clothes but also cultivation of cotton happens in large number in India. So that is why India covers the entire value chain of the textile industry. Now, despite such a big scale, India still lags behind countries like China, Vietnam, and Bangladesh in terms of textile exports. And these countries benefit from vertical integrated value chain, lower production cost, and also simpler regulation. So this is the challenge that India is facing. Although it is a major cultivator of cotton, it is a large manufacturer of clothes. However, despite that, India is not as big a exporter of these products as compared to China, Vietnam, and Bangladesh. So there might be some challenges, right? That why is India not harnessing its potential in the textile industry, and why it is not exporting such textile products in large number. So let us understand this in our today's discussion. Now, first of all, let us take an overview of the India's textile industry as a whole. Now, after China, India is second largest producer of cotton, and India accounts for about 24%, nearly 1/4 of the total cotton production. Now, cotton cultivation in India, it engages about 60 lakh farmers, mostly across states of Gujarat, Maharashtra, and Telangana. So, someone said they belong from Gujarat, I guess. Sheetal, yes. So, cotton, kapas, you might be very familiar with the word kapas. Now, yes, so cotton, these are mostly cultivated in the states of Gujarat, Maharashtra, Telangana, and the entire cotton textile value chain from processing of raw fiber to spin yarn and to weaving of fabric, dyeing and stitching them, it employs as much as 4.5 crore people. So you understand the amount of employment this entire textile value chain is employing the numbers of people in India, 4.5 crore. This is not even the population of many famous countries, right? The British or UK population is very near to 6 crore. So you can put things in perspective that we are employing as much as 75% of UK's population entirely. Now, also fiber consumption in India, although it is tilted heavily towards cotton, people prefer cotton. However, on the other hand, textile industry, it also consumes other natural fibers like wool and jute, and India is second largest producer of the man-made fibers, that is synthetic fibers. And despite being global leader in the production of these synthetic fibers, the production or the consumption of man-made fibers in India per capita is just 3.1 kilogram per person, whereas on the other hand, in countries like China, it is 12 kilograms, whereas in Northern America, it is as much as 22.5 kilogram. So in terms of consumption potential also, you can see there's a difference that people in India, they majorly prefer cotton clothes, whereas the man-made fibers, synthetic fibers like polyester, etc., their demand in number it is quite huge, but when you consider it with respect to our population, it is very low as compared to other countries. That is, it is 1/4 of China, and it is about 7 times less than North America, right? So this is the difference. Now, in terms of overall fiber consumption, including natural fibers and synthetic fibers also, in that case, India per capita consumption is just 5.5 kilograms compared to global average of 11.2 kilograms. So this highlights that in sheer number, India is a very big producer and consumer of these products. However, in terms of per capita consumption, India still is only about halfway behind the global consumption numbers. So there is a significant potential to increase consumption levels of these synthetic and natural fibers in India. Now, roughly 80% of India's textile value chain, it is concentrated in macro, small and medium enterprises clusters. Now, there are many areas in India which specialize in a kind of product. For example, Bhivandi, which is very near to Mumbai in Maharashtra, it is a key hub for fabric production. Tirupur, which is located in Tamil Nadu on the Tamil Nadu and Kerala border, it leads in t-shirts and undergarments manufacturing, whereas Surat, which is a big city in Gujarat, it specializes in polyester and nylon fabric, which is a man-made fiber, and also Ludhiana in Punjab, it specializes or it is known for woolen garments. So these are the areas which specialize in a particular kind of product. So if a matching or a table-based question comes that allows you or it wants you to match the areas with the products that they are known for, you will be covered using these kind of information, right? Doraemon, namaskar. Bishwabrat, sir, kindly don't elaborate the way we should write answers every day. Okay, I'll follow that. Kapus in Maharashtra, sir. Sneha, okay. Also Rajasthan produce. Kapas, okay. Kapus in Maharashtra, okay. Rajasthan also produces, right. Baga Springs, forest or foreign Amar, okay. I don't understand that. PCS, nahi sir, only civil services because I want to be in IFS, okay. Now the challenges that the cotton industry faces. First is the contraction that the industry is witnessing. Now India's textile and apparel industry, it contributes to 13% of India's overall production levels, 12% of exports and roughly 2% of GDP. So in any question that comes on textile industry, you could use this kind of an introduction as it provides you with the relevance or the significance of this industry, right? So this is how facts can actually help you get more marks in the exam if you can quote such kind of facts, right? Now, in terms of manufacturing of textile and apparel industry, this has witnessed slight contraction. It has not grown, rather it has reduced in terms of absolute production in the last 10 years as per the index of industrial production, and the biggest culprit of this contraction was the economic downturn that India and globe witnessed during the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, as the world witnessed economic shutdown due to COVID pandemic and its restrictions, the demand for products in India and in external markets reduced. Also, these factories had to be shut down due to the lockdown of COVID. Therefore, they resulted into a big disruption in this industry. Therefore, this domestic headwinds has actually taken a big toll on the smaller MSME units that majorly manufacture these garments in the locations that I've told you in the last slide, right? So this is the one biggest challenge. Another challenge is that in terms of export destinations, India does not have a diversified. Rather, India exports majorly to only a handful of countries. Like, as India runs a massive trade surplus in textile and apparel exports. However, these overall exports have been witnessing a muted growth in the past few years. First of all, the exports stood at $34.1 billion in the financial year 2024, which is just little over the past year's manufacture in 2020, right? So in terms of 4 years here, you can see the growth has been very less, from $33.4 billion to $34.1 billion. Now, what is the sole reason of this? Because I told you, right, India's export markets are not diversified, because almost 50% of the exports of India's textile products, these are exported just to two regions of United States and European Union. So whenever these countries are witnessing economic slowdown, whenever these countries are witnessing some kind of economic downturn, naturally the demand for Indian clothes will be reduced in these countries, right? So that is why you need to diversify, that you have to export your products to different countries and you do not have to depend on one or two countries in general. So this is one of the problems of India's textile industry. Also, India's textile industry, from the context of this article, you may have gauged that they have low export competitiveness, because in terms of export, although India is a, India is a big producer of the textiles and apparel sector. However, the countries like China, Vietnam and Bangladesh, they export higher number of textile products as compared to India's market. And there are many reasons to it. First of all, these countries, they have a vertically integrated chain, that is from production of cotton to manufacturing and stitching of the clothes. These are very closely integrated, that the stitching units and the processing units of cotton, these are located very close to the cotton growing regions. That is why these countries are able to manufacture higher number of clothes and higher number of products at a much lesser cost. And also these countries have flexible labor laws. So in terms of labor regulations also, these factories do not face as difficulties as compared to India. Therefore, also they allow them to keep the cost low. Further, the products of these countries, they are accessible, particularly from Vietnam and Bangladesh. These are accessible to Western markets at much lower rates because of the low amount of taxes or import duties that are imposed on the products of these countries. On the other hand, China and India, their products are having higher amount of import duties. So naturally, in terms of cost, the products from Vietnam and Bangladesh will be available at much cheaper cost in the Western markets as compared to products of India. So this is one of the reasons of low export competitiveness. Also, India has a very fragmented cotton supply chain. As you can understand, cotton is grown mostly in the western part of the country, whereas cotton industry spread across the country. So as to transport cotton from western part of the country to east, you can understand there will be a huge distance for which the cotton has to be transported, adding to the final cost of the product. Also, the logistical cost in India in general has been higher than many countries, which hinders large scale production, and also if the large scale production happens, the overall cost will increase. So this is the reasons why India's textile industry is facing challenges. Also, one of the challenges that the industry is expected to face in the recent times or in coming times is the matter of sustainability, because world over people are demanding more sustainable fashion, that they want to reduce the amount of wastage that is happening from the textile sector. They want to reduce the emissions, or they want to reduce the economic or ecological footprint of the textile sector. This will pose a big challenge to India's sector, as it is looking to problem India's textile industry, which includes higher renewable energy use for manufacturing of textile, use of sustainable water, and also recycling of water to prevent the use of or prevent overuse of water, and also stricter sourcing and traceability requirements. Particularly, these will be imposed by economies like European Union. Now, as I told you, right, European Union, including US, they are responsible for as much as half of our exports to other countries, right? So in case these economies, they impose certain kind of sustainability based restrictions, automatically India's export to these countries will be affected. So in general, the cost of textile industry, they are likely to rise over the coming years. As EU, it accounts for nearly 20% of our exports, and the shift in EU's regulation by imposing sustainability requirements, it will pose a challenge for small enterprise who will not be able to meet the required regulations, because certification is difficult, awareness is difficult, and these smaller industries will face challenge in this regard. Understood? So these are the set of challenges that India's industry will face. Yes, Baga Springs, you're right. Too many landfills full of fast fashion clothes. Vishwabrat sir, exports will further reduce due to reciprocal tariffs. Yes, you're right. Kaizen, to reduce transport of our country, we are planning to develop an IMAC project. Yes, you're right. Kaizen, good evening, Kaizen. Are you Japanese, Kaizen? Kaizen is a Japanese word for change. Now, this is the question that you are supposed to write. I will not tell you today how to write this answer. I want to see if you're able to write this good answer or not, right? And you know the drill. Please submit your answers before 8 p.m. today. I will make sure to evaluate them. In case for some reason you are delaying your answer submission, I encourage other aspirants to help that fellow aspirant, right? And make sure to receive that help from that aspirant in the future. So this is all from our discussion. You can upload your answers in this Telegram channel, and if you haven't subscribed it yet, please do not forget to subscribe it. And also please make sure to hit the thumbs up button, which also signals liking of this video, and let me know in the comments after this video end if this session is helpful for you or not. So I'll see you tomorrow at 4. Until then, please have a very good evening and good night.